Hi and welcome back. In our last video we saw a relationship between two people that started in a what we call complementary way, each one complementing each other, but then they grew apart, creating a gap in the middle. And we also saw that we cannot live with gaps. We need to fill that gap with something. But we didn't address a relationship that from the beginning may start not complementary. For example, a person who may have one shape and is connecting with someone else that has a totally different shape, and they start a relationship. So they start from the beginning in a way that is not complementary for different reasons, maybe cultural or religious reasons, or ideological reasons, or convenience, and we are going to address that on another time. Meanwhile, we are going to continue working with that situation. Somebody that started very well, I in a good relationship, but then they grew apart and creating a gap in the middle. I would like to expand on the relational theory, adding to this topic the concept of role theory that comes from my professor, Rojas Bermudez. What he says is that when we have a complementary relationship, in that case, between two people or two roles, this is part of the role theory, between two roles, it's not that the two people are connecting like this one and another, but it's that we create between us what he calls the link. The link is a space that we create, is me knowing myself up to the middle of the relationship, and the other person also creates the link. In reality, we are connected through a link that is who connects us together. In that link is where we start knowing each other. It's the link, through the link, that the green in this case gives the information to the link, and the link passes to the other person. So the other person, red in this case, starts learning about green. And vice versa, the red will bring information through the link to the other person, and the person start knowing the red. So in that case, both start knowing each other. The link is very important because it's like a buffer between two people. But when we are loving someone else, or we like someone else so intimately, and we are complementary, it's very easy to be with one another. This is what Martin Buber calls I and I. Two eyes together connecting. And the majority of the relationship, as we mentioned last time, it starts like this. So we have a link in the middle, but the link, even though is so important, but the person may not feel that it's so relevant, because what is happening between them is so easy and flows very well. The problem is that when we are having a relationship that starts growing in a different place, and the other person looks like this, when the relationship starts growing in a different pattern and we are not aware that this is happening, we continue relating as the relationship we had before, and we are not aware that a new pattern is coming, is growing, and this is what creates so much sometimes confusion. What is happening? Let's say if two people are enjoying this type of relationship, and then one starts growing in one way, and let's say that the other person is not aware of that. The person wants you to continue relating in the same way that we did before, but now the person is presenting as a conversation a different shape. So all the patterns, communicational patterns that we had before are not functional anymore. And that creates tension, creates anxiety. And if we are not aware of that early in the relationship, sometimes we are aware of that late. And sadly, sometimes too late. So we grow in a different way. And in that case, creates the tension we were talking before. What can we do? The answer is starting with oneself. This is what we do in the play of life, when we create a relationship, the present, the ideal, and then we say to the person, what should happen in the present for this to change? And very often the person says, I need the other person to turn around. I need the other person to come closer. I need the other person to move away. So the focus is on the other person. And the play of life, or this way of thinking, put the attention on ourselves. So the question is, what can I do? One of the points that is very important at this point of time is to be able to know myself better. In that case, I start knowing myself. Let's say we have a lot of tension between these two people. I'll tell you what is the ideal. The ideal is that both will say, we love each other. What we have is very precious and we need to work on this. What happened here is the relationship has changed from the I to I and thou. And thou. And for this person, this is the I and this is the thou. That become complicated because the other person is different. So the alternative the person will have here is, for example, this person, instead of start seeing the person as different, as the other, as the thou, as the I and you, start seeing the person so differently that cannot connect and start treating the other person as an it. And we see this very often in relationships, especially when we go into the situation of abuse. Abuse in the relationship. Very sad. But this is what happened. This person has lost the capacity to see the other person as a thou and treat the person as an it. So coming back to this, what will be the ideal? The ideal is to start to learn how to work with the I and thou. How can I start learning to be with someone else that is very different to me? And we saw in other movies about the I and thou that it is not easy, but it's possible. And this is our opportunity we have to make from this relationship a very strong relationship. What we need to do is, we need to start with ourselves. Let's say that we're working with the red. I am the red. So I might like to see how the green will start adapting to me, but I need to start with myself. How to do that? I need to start knowing what I've been doing, and knowing myself. And one of the ways to start knowing myself better is the Enneagram. Because the Enneagram will help me to identify the lens from which I'm seeing life. What was the motivators? What was the driving force that guides me to grow in this direction, so different to the other one? So it's likely that knowing about my Enneatype, it will help me to have a good insight in what I am doing. But also start helping to understand that the other person is not against me, but is different, is an thou. So in that case, help me to learn more about myself, help to see better the other person, know the other better, and start learning how to manage the relationship between I and you, I and thou. And this is the center of relationship capital, that we say that the power is not in this person or this person, the power is in between. So in that case, the ideal will be that this person start knowing themselves, brings to the middle an encounter that it has the shape of myself, but is ready to connect. And could be ideal if the other person is doing the same process. And this is why the relational coaching is so important, because both start knowing each other individually, but also how to relate. So the other person start knowing the person themselves better, and comes to the middle with a different place. And if both continue doing that, they are going to start creating in the middle, a link that allows them to communicate in spite of that are different. Before, in the I and I, they used to communicate because they were similar. Now relationships invites us not to live because, but in spite of. And that happens through the link, that the appropriate name is love. So the link is love. It's love. It's the ability that I will have to create a buffer between me and other. And in that process, I'm going to learn that it's not just about myself, about my ego, but it's also about the other two. And what a wonderful thing if the other person is doing the same process. It's not about myself, it's about you. This is in the encounter, in the meeting. And this is the aim, this is the ideal for two people that started in that way but then becomes pear-shaped, is don't worry. There are ways that we can learn how to know myself better, to know the other better, and there are better to create a very strong relationship. So I'd like for you to reflect about this, about yourself. And I must tell you that while I'm presenting this to you, I'm also looking at my own relationships. How am I doing that? How is my process of knowing myself better? What is my shape? What are my likes and dislikes? And knowing that, I start knowing that the other person is different too. But through the link, through love, we can meet in the middle with a very good buffer that will buffer the differences. Not only that, but is feeding the I and thou relationship, in which every time I'm with you, I grow. Before, every time I'm with you, I ache. Every time I'm with you, something of me is dying or being hurt, and I'm hurting you. But through this process, every time I'm with you, we are both growing together. A good time to have a good reflection about yourself, and also to consider doing the Enneagram to know yourself better. In the next video, we're going to have a look at situations in which one person may be interested in relating better and doing the best, but the other person is unable to. Your time to practice on yourself.